watching Money Talk Viewpoint, and I'm Chantel Leeson. Successful businesses have one thing in common, and it's the right clients, prospects, and customers.
Family office, I'm sure you're aware, the concept came, I believe it started with the Rockefellers. And what it is when somebody has, or a family has so much money, they can afford to hire a team of financial professionals like myself, CPAs, estate planning lawyers, tax mitigation specialists that are on their staff that can help basically reach their financial potential, right? But most of the people don't have that kind of wealth, because you can imagine with that staff on board, and somebody, if you're looking for the best of the best, you could really have a million, multiple $1 million cost per year. So in order for you to justify that cost, you should probably have in the neighborhood of 300, 500 million or more to actually have a real family office that is working as a team on your assets to make your assets work as efficiently as possible. Now, I don't know about your clients, but I don't have a stable full of those kind of clients. They don't have their own family office. My clients are millionaires, but they usually don't feel like they have enough money to, just retire and hire somebody full-time. But most of my clients need some of those services some of the time. So that's where a virtual family office steps in. You can be proactive and give them the family office services that they would enjoy if they had their own family office, but certainly not at that same cost, and pretty much at their desire and an as needed basis.
$300,000 mortgage at 6%, I'm going to be paying $347,000 in interest on top of the $300,000. So just imagine if you didn't have to make those payments, if you didn't have to make those interest payments. Well, imagine if you were able to cut that interest cost in half, and you can do it without changing your spending.
Okay.
And I can do it without touching my savings.
Wow.
And it's all about how I manage my cash.
But what are the risks involved in that?
None.
An exciting thing with franchising is that it gives you a chance to build generational wealth. Usually to do that, you've got to own multiple units of a franchise, but you can do very well owning one franchise depending on which franchise it is. And you can also, if you just want to be in business for yourself, it's really for yourself, but not by yourself, because you get a lot of help from the franchisor.
Well, let me ask you, who gets into franchises and why?
There's basically three types. So it can be somebody who's a corporate employee and wants to own their own business. It can be somebody who already owns a business and just wants to expand and diversify by adding an additional business model. Or it can be wealthy individuals, family offices, private equity, high net worth individuals.
I honestly was like, I might have to get out of this business because I don't want to sell. I want to add value, right? And so I said, well, all right, let's take a step back. If I were managing money, I don't have the resources to create a team of analysts and build all that infrastructure out, but it doesn't seem to work anyway. So let's look at a different route. And I just asked a very simple, fundamental question. Are there characteristics of companies and stocks in today's point in time that tend to lead towards outperformance a year from that date? It's a pretty simple question. Like, do I buy low PE stocks that tend to be at a good value? Or do I buy high PE stocks that tend to be those growthy fund names that can explode in the upward trajectory? And I just didn't know the answer to that question. So what should I do? So I did the work. I did the math is what happened. And I started looking at all the different characteristics to see if there were any statistical advantages in the marketplace. And I said, if there are these advantages, why not just buy those stocks? Let's forget all the other stuff and just buy the stocks with those advantages now. I'm not going to be right every time, but in theory, I should be right more often than I'm wrong.
Table, right? So as a senior executive entrepreneur, more on the global sales, international sales and marketing strategy, and also as an investor. And I've been in Silicon Valley for 47 years. So I've seen how Sand Hill Road runs. I've been to Sand Hill Road, which pretty much controls trillions of dollars in the economy with all the VCs. And I've seen how all the way from pre-seed, seed to late stage exit public companies run. And I'm very privileged to get invited to a lot of family offices, summits and events and conferences to speak, to talk about investment, talk about mentoring the next gen, talk about much about the mindset and soft side on human beings, right? Whether
Right.
you're leading generation that are, boomers primarily. And you guys, some of you guys might know that about $65 trillion, about 60 to 70 trillion dollars are going to get transferred to the next gen within families within the next 2-3 decades. But I'm also real big on holistic, right? What can I do to really uplift the kids, lift up the kids so that their leadership skills, their, leadership coaching, life coaching, career coaching, integrated with college counseling. So make them powerful, as effective as possible in the personal operating system.
Boundaries are really for us to protect our personal and mental space. So it's like having a fence between our neighbors. And it helps us involve the physical and emotional limits that we think is considered appropriate behavior between people. And boundaries really include our values, expectations, principles, or limits that you establish to keep yourself feeling safe physically, emotionally, and mentally. And those healthy boundaries permit you as a caregiver to be the person who you are.
So give us some examples of just so that our listeners are able to kind of connect, and if any of them are involved with taking care of an elderly.
And I'm curious about your take is, we hear about ESG investing, environment, social governance. We hear that term more in the media. Tell me how it relates to impact investing, or just tell me what impact investing is.
So impact investing often gets confused with ESG. ESG really is a measurement tool used to evaluate investments in several non-financial aspects, as you mentioned, the environmental, the social, and the governance. And typically, ESG is associated with publicly traded securities, at debt or equity securities. More often, sustainable investing or impact investing is associated with private investments where there are specific outcomes, typically environmental or social outcomes, that are expected from those investments. And it's interesting to talk to folks about how their own journey toward impact investing and where it fits within their overall family strategy. It's also thought of in terms of value-based investing, where particularly high net worth individuals and family offices can, quote unquote, invest their values.